Imagine walking into a room full of people. Perhaps it is an office meeting. Perhaps it is a classroom. Perhaps it is a gathering of friends. At first glance, everything seems simple. People talk, they laugh, they exchange ideas. But beneath the surface, something more complex is happening. Invisible forces are moving quietly between individuals. Influence is being established. Positions are being negotiated. Respect is being earned or lost. This invisible process is the game of power. And the most fascinating part is that most people participate in this game without even realizing it. Every day, small decisions shape influence. Who speaks first? Who interrupts? Who listens carefully? Who remains calm under pressure? These subtle moments slowly determine who holds influence within a group. Some people rise naturally to positions of leadership. Others remain in the background. But the difference is rarely accidental. It often comes down to awareness. Those who understand the dynamics of influence move differently. They observe before they act. They think before they speak. They recognize patterns others overlook. This awareness is the foundation of power. Many people feel uncomfortable discussing power. The word itself sometimes carries a negative meaning. It can sound manipulative, aggressive, even dangerous. But power, in its simplest form, is not about domination. It is about influence. It is the ability to shape outcomes, to guide decisions, to protect your position, and to create opportunities for yourself and others. Without influence, even the most talented individuals can struggle. A brilliant idea may go unnoticed. A capable worker may remain unrecognized. A creative thinker may never receive the chance to share their vision. But when someone understands influence, their ideas travel further. Their voice carries weight. Their presence changes the direction of conversations. Power, therefore, is not simply about control. It is about the ability to participate fully in shaping your own life. Throughout history, the rise and fall of powerful individuals has fascinated humanity. Kings ruled vast empires. Generals commanded armies. Advisors whispered strategies into the ears of rulers. Behind every major historical event, human psychology played a role. Ambition, fear, pride, desire for recognition. These emotions shaped decisions that changed entire nations. In the 48 Laws of Power, many of these historical stories are explored in detail, not as entertainment, but as lessons. For example, some leaders lost everything because they trusted the wrong allies. Others succeeded because they understood how to manage perception. And some individuals quietly built influence over decades through patience and strategic thinking. These stories remind us of something profound. Human nature changes very slowly. The same motivations that influenced kings centuries ago still influence people today. One of the most important distinctions in the study of power is the difference between reaction and strategy. Many people live reactively. Something happens and they respond immediately. A criticism appears and they defend themselves. A challenge arises and they respond emotionally. But strategic individuals operate differently. They pause, they observe, they think about consequences. Instead of reacting instantly, they ask themselves questions. What is really happening here? What does this person want? What outcome would benefit me most? This small pause between stimulus and response creates a powerful advantage, because once emotions settle, clearer thinking becomes possible. Observation is one of the most underrated skills in human interaction. We live in a fast-moving world where people often speak quickly and think later. But those who study influence learn to slow down. They watch, they listen, they pay attention to patterns. They notice who receives attention in a room, who others turn to for approval, who becomes uncomfortable when challenged. These small signals reveal the hidden structure of social environments.
And once you see these structures clearly, navigating them becomes easier. At its core, power is deeply connected to human psychology. People want recognition. They want respect. They want to feel important. These desires shape behavior in subtle ways. Someone may work harder because they crave admiration. Another may compete aggressively because they fear being ignored. Understanding these motivations helps explain why people act the way they do. And once these motivations become visible, influence becomes easier to manage. For many listeners, the ideas within the 48 Laws of Power create a moment of realization, a shift in perspective. Situations that once seemed confusing begin to make sense. Why did that colleague react defensively? Why did that conversation suddenly become tense? Why did one person gain influence while another remained unnoticed? These questions often have answers hidden within the dynamics of power. And once you begin noticing these patterns, something remarkable happens. Your awareness expands. You begin seeing the social world with new clarity. However, understanding power also carries responsibility. Knowledge of influence can be used in different ways. Some individuals may use it selfishly. Others may use it wisely. The deeper message behind studying power is not simply gaining advantage, it is gaining awareness. Awareness of how human relations function, awareness of how decisions shape outcomes, and awareness of how personal behavior influences the people around us. With that awareness comes the ability to act thoughtfully rather than impulsively. This exploration of power is not about learning tricks or shortcuts. It is about understanding patterns that have existed for centuries. Patterns found in royal courts, political movements, business environments, creative industries, and everyday human interactions. As we continue through the next parts of this journey, we will explore deeper principles: how reputation shapes influence, how emotions affect decisions, how patience and strategy create long-term advantages, and how self-awareness becomes the foundation for lasting power. Because in the end, the most powerful individuals are not always the loudest. They are often the most aware, the most patient, and the most deliberate in their actions.
In the world of influence, few things are more valuable than reputation. Reputation is like an invisible shield that surrounds you wherever you go. People may not know you personally, they may not understand your full abilities, but if they have heard that you are capable, reliable, and intelligent, their expectations change before you even speak. Imagine walking into a room where everyone already believes you are an expert. Conversations unfold differently. People listen more carefully. They value your opinion, and they assume that your ideas carry weight. All of this happens before you even begin to demonstrate your abilities. This is the power of reputation. It creates an advantage that multiplies over time. But like any powerful tool, it must be protected carefully. Building a strong reputation often requires years of effort, consistent work, reliable decisions, moments where you prove your value again and again. But losing that reputation can happen much faster, sometimes in a single moment. A careless statement, a moment of arrogance, a public mistake handled poorly. These moments can shift how people perceive you, and perception, more often than not, becomes reality. This is why individuals who understand influence treat their reputation with great care. They guard it, they nurture it. They understand that every interaction contributes to the story people tell about them. First impressions carry extraordinary weight. When people meet someone for the first time, their minds begin forming conclusions almost instantly. Is this person confident? Are they trustworthy? Do they seem competent? These judgments may not always be accurate, but they shape future interactions in powerful ways.
A confident introduction can open doors. A careless impression can create barriers that take months or years to overcome. Because of this, individuals who understand influence remain mindful of how they present themselves. Their posture, their tone, their ability to listen, all these small signals contribute to the image they project. There is another subtle element that strengthens reputation: mystery. Human beings are naturally curious. When something is fully revealed, interest often fades quickly. But when something remains partially hidden, curiosity grows. Throughout history, powerful figures often maintained a certain level of mystery around themselves. They did not reveal every thought. They did not share every plan. Instead, they spoke carefully. They allowed others to wonder. This created an aura of depth and unpredictability. People began attributing greater wisdom and capability to them simply because they seemed difficult to fully understand. Mystery, when used wisely, can amplify perception. Many people believe influence comes from speaking frequently and loudly, but in reality, silence can sometimes be more powerful than words. When someone speaks constantly, their voice begins to lose weight. But when someone speaks selectively, their words gain importance. Listeners lean forward. They pay closer attention. This principle has been observed throughout history in political leaders, diplomats, and successful negotiators. They often allow silence to create tension. They allow others to reveal their thoughts first. And when they finally speak, their words carry greater impact. Silence, therefore, becomes a strategic tool. Reputation does not maintain itself automatically. It requires active protection. Rumors may appear, misunderstandings may spread, competitors may attempt to weaken your standing. In such situations, ignoring perception completely can be risky. Sometimes clarification becomes necessary. Sometimes correcting misinformation protects credibility. Those who understand power recognize that reputation functions like a garden. It must be maintained regularly. Weeds must be removed. Growth must be encouraged. Otherwise, neglect slowly erodes what once took years to build. One of the greatest dangers to reputation is arrogance. When individuals achieve success, they sometimes begin believing they are untouchable. They dismiss criticism. They ignore advice. They underestimate others. History provides many examples of powerful figures who lost their influence because of arrogance. They believed their position was permanent, but power rarely remains permanent for those who stop paying attention. Humility, surprisingly, often protects influence. It keeps individuals open to learning, it encourages awareness, and it prevents the blind spots that arrogance creates. Another subtle element of influence involves how we treat others. People remember how they feel in your presence. If someone consistently makes others feel respected and appreciated, they often build quiet loyalty. But if someone constantly criticizes or competes for attention, resentment grows. Those who understand power often use praise carefully. They recognize effort. They acknowledge talent. They allow others to feel valued. This does not mean false flattery. It means understanding the emotional landscape of human interaction. People naturally support those who make them feel important. One of the most fascinating truths about influence is that perception often matters more than reality. A person may possess incredible talent, but if others fail to recognize it, that talent remains invisible. Meanwhile, someone with moderate ability but strong perception management may appear highly competent. This does not mean deception is the goal. Rather, it means understanding that communication shapes how abilities are perceived. Skills alone rarely guarantee influence. Visibility matters, presentation matters, and reputation becomes the bridge between ability and recognition. When reputation becomes strong enough, it begins working independently of your presence. People speak positively about you even when you are not in the room. Opportunities appear through recommendations. Trust forms more quickly. This is when reputation becomes a powerful asset. It multiplies the effect of every action you take. But the process requires patience. Reputation grows slowly through consistency, through reliability, through moments where character and ability align. The deeper lesson behind reputation is awareness, understanding that every interaction contributes to the story others tell about you, understanding that perception influences opportunity, understanding that respect often grows from consistency rather than grand gestures. Those who develop this awareness gain a subtle but powerful advantage because they begin shaping their image intentionally rather than leaving it to chance. As we continue exploring the principles behind influence, we will move deeper into the psychology of power. In the next part of this journey, we will examine emotional control, why calmness creates strength, why reacting impulsively weakens influence, and how mastering your own emotions becomes one of the most powerful tools any individual can possess. Because before mastering the dynamics of others, one must first master the dynamics within oneself, and that is where the true foundation of power begins.
One of the most important qualities shared by powerful individuals throughout history is emotional control. Not the absence of emotion, but the ability to manage it. Human beings are naturally emotional creatures. We feel excitement when things go well. We feel anger when someone challenges us. We feel fear when facing uncertainty. These emotions are natural, but in moments of tension, emotions can also become dangerous. They can cloud judgment. They can push people to act too quickly. And sometimes they lead to decisions that damage relationships, reputations, and opportunities. In the world of influence, emotional reactions often reveal weakness. Calmness, on the other hand, creates strength. Imagine someone criticizes you in a meeting. Your first instinct might be to defend yourself immediately. Your voice rises, your words become sharper, the conversation turns tense. In that moment, something important happens. The focus shifts away from the issue itself and toward the emotional conflict. Now the discussion is no longer about ideas, it becomes about ego. This is one of the most common traps in human interaction. People react emotionally before fully understanding the situation. But those who understand influence pause before reacting. They allow emotions to settle. They observe the situation from a distance, and in that pause, clarity appears. The ability to pause before responding may seem simple, but it is one of the most powerful skills anyone can develop. When you pause, several things happen. First, you prevent yourself from saying something you might later regret. Second, you gain time to observe the other person's behavior. Third, you allow your mind to consider multiple responses instead of reacting automatically. This small gap between stimulus and response creates enormous strategic advantage, because while others react emotionally, you remain in control. Another interesting effect of emotional control appears when others become emotional. Imagine two people in a disagreement. One raises their voice. They become frustrated. Their words grow harsher. But the other person remains calm. They speak slowly. They listen carefully. They respond thoughtfully. In such situations, observers often begin trusting the calm individual more. Why? Because calmness suggests confidence. It signals that the person feels secure enough not to react impulsively. This shifts the balance of power. Sometimes emotional reactions are not accidental. They are intentional.
People may provoke others deliberately to trigger anger or frustration. Why would someone do this? Because emotional reactions can weaken judgment. If someone succeeds in making you angry, they may gain control over your behavior. Your focus shifts away from strategy. Your attention narrows. Your decisions become reactive. Understanding this dynamic allows you to avoid the trap. When someone attempts to provoke you, recognizing the strategy removes its power. You begin seeing the situation not as a personal attack, but as a psychological tactic. Detachment does not mean becoming cold or indifferent. Instead, it means maintaining perspective. When you detach emotionally from a situation, you gain the ability to analyze it more clearly. You see motivations, you recognize patterns, you understand what each person involved might want to achieve. This broader perspective helps you respond intelligently rather than impulsively. Many great strategists throughout history practiced emotional detachment, not because they lacked feelings, but because they understood the importance of clarity. Before mastering emotions, one must first recognize them. Many people react without fully realizing what they are feeling: a sudden sense of irritation, a quick surge of pride, a wave of insecurity. These emotions influence behavior even when they remain unnoticed. But emotional awareness allows you to observe these feelings without being controlled by them. You notice anger rising, you notice frustration building, and because you notice it, you gain the ability to manage it. This awareness creates freedom. Patience often feels uncomfortable in a fast-paced world. We are taught to respond quickly, to make decisions immediately, to act without delay. But in the realm of strategy, patience can be a powerful advantage. When others rush forward, patient individuals observe. They gather information. They allow situations to unfold. Sometimes the best move is not immediate action. Sometimes it is waiting until the right opportunity appears. History is filled with examples of individuals who succeeded not through speed, but through timing. Timing plays a critical role in influence. An idea presented at the wrong moment may be rejected. The same idea presented later may be welcomed enthusiastically. The difference lies in context. People's moods change, circumstances evolve, opportunities emerge and disappear. Those who understand timing pay close attention to these shifts. They sense when the environment becomes favorable, and when the moment arrives, their actions carry greater impact. Even the most disciplined individuals occasionally react emotionally. No one maintains perfect control at all times. But mistakes can become powerful teachers. After a difficult interaction, reflection can reveal important lessons. What triggered the emotional reaction? What alternative responses might have produced better outcomes? Each experience becomes an opportunity to improve emotional awareness. And over time, emotional discipline strengthens. Ultimately, emotional control forms the foundation of personal power. Without it, strategy becomes difficult, reputation becomes fragile, relationships become unstable. But when emotions remain balanced, clarity emerges, decisions improve, influence grows naturally, because people trust individuals who remain steady under pressure. Understanding emotional control prepares us for the next step in exploring influence. In the next part of this journey, we will examine persuasion, how powerful individuals communicate ideas effectively, how they align their message with the desires of others, and how influence often grows not through force, but through understanding. Because when you combine emotional mastery with persuasive communication, you begin unlocking the deeper mechanics of power.
Many people imagine power as something loud and forceful. They picture commands being given, orders being followed, authority being imposed. But in reality, the most effective forms of influence are rarely aggressive. They are subtle. They are persuasive. They work quietly within the minds of others. Instead of forcing people to act, true influence encourages people to believe they are choosing the action themselves. This difference may seem small, but it changes everything. When someone feels forced, resistance grows. But when someone feels respected and understood, cooperation becomes natural. This is the art of persuasion. At the center of persuasion lies a simple truth. People are motivated by their own desires, not yours. Every person carries invisible motivations: recognition, security, success, belonging, respect. These desires influence how people respond to ideas. If a proposal threatens someone's status, they may resist it, even if the idea is logical. But if the same proposal helps them feel valued or respected, their reaction may change completely. Understanding these motivations allows influence to become more effective. Instead of pushing your own agenda aggressively, you align your message with what others already want. One of the most underestimated tools of persuasion is listening. Many people believe influence requires speaking convincingly, but powerful communicators often begin by listening carefully. They ask questions, they observe reactions, they pay attention to subtle cues in conversation. This information becomes valuable because when you understand what someone values, you can frame your ideas in ways that resonate with them. Listening also builds trust. People feel respected when their opinions are heard, and respect creates openness. The way information is presented often matters more than the information itself. Imagine two people presenting the same idea. One focuses on problems, the other focuses on opportunities. The message may be identical, but the emotional impact differs greatly. Framing shapes perception. Skilled communicators carefully choose how they present ideas. They emphasize benefits. They highlight possibilities. They tell stories that help others visualize positive outcomes. By shaping the narrative, they shape how people interpret reality. Human beings respond deeply to stories. Facts and statistics may inform the mind, but stories engage the imagination. Throughout history, influential leaders have used storytelling to communicate ideas. Stories make abstract concepts tangible. They help people see themselves within a narrative. When someone tells a compelling story about a vision for the future, listeners begin imagining that future as possible. This emotional connection strengthens persuasion. Because people rarely act based on information alone. They act based on how information makes them feel. Confidence is one of the most persuasive qualities a person can display. When someone speaks with certainty, others naturally feel more comfortable trusting their direction. But confidence does not mean arrogance. True confidence comes from preparation, from knowledge, from understanding both the strengths and limitations of your ideas. When people sense genuine confidence, they feel reassured. This reassurance lowers resistance and encourages cooperation. Influence rarely exists in isolation. Even the most powerful individuals rely on alliances. Support from others strengthens credibility. It expands resources. It creates networks of cooperation. Throughout history, leaders who formed strong alliances often achieved far greater results than those who attempted to act alone. But alliances require care. Trust must be built, mutual benefits must exist, and respect must remain consistent. Healthy alliances grow when both sides feel valued. Sometimes people attempt to influence others through confrontation.
They challenge ideas aggressively. They attack opposing viewpoints directly. While this approach may occasionally succeed, it often creates resistance. When people feel attacked, they instinctively defend their beliefs. Their minds close rather than open. Persuasion works more effectively when it respects dignity. Instead of forcing agreement, skilled communicators guide others gradually toward new perspectives. They ask thoughtful questions, they encourage reflection, and through this process, people arrive at conclusions willingly. Another powerful principle of influence is the creation of value. When people benefit from working with you, they naturally support your efforts. This principle appears repeatedly throughout successful partnerships, businesses, and leadership relationships. Those who focus only on their own gain often lose support over time, but those who create opportunities for others build loyalty. Influence grows when people associate your presence with positive outcomes. Perception plays a powerful role in persuasion. How people view you affects how they interpret your ideas. If someone is seen as reliable and thoughtful, their suggestions receive greater consideration. But if someone appears careless or inconsistent, even strong ideas may be dismissed. This is why presentation matters. Clarity, professionalism, consistency. These qualities strengthen credibility, and credibility strengthens persuasion. Persuasion rarely happens instantly. Changing someone's perspective often requires time. People need space to reflect, to test ideas, to see results. Impatient attempts to force agreement can backfire, but patient communication allows trust to develop gradually. Over time, this patience builds stronger and more lasting influence. The art of influence involves balance. Too much force creates resistance. Too little hesitation creates uncertainty. Successful communicators find a middle path. They remain confident without becoming aggressive. They remain persuasive without becoming manipulative. This balance allows their ideas to travel farther. With emotional control and persuasive communication, the foundations of influence begin to take shape. But power also requires long-term thinking. In the next part of this journey, we will explore strategy, how powerful individuals think beyond the present moment, how they anticipate challenges before they appear, and how patience, planning, and foresight allow influence to grow steadily. Because in the world of power, those who see farther into the future often shape it.
Most people make decisions based only on what is happening right now. They react to problems as they appear. They solve today's challenge without considering tomorrow's consequences. In everyday life, this approach feels natural. But in the world of influence, short-term thinking can be dangerous, because every action creates a ripple effect. A small decision today may shape opportunities months or even years later. Those who understand strategy begin thinking further ahead. They imagine possible outcomes. They ask themselves questions others rarely ask. If I take this action today, what will happen tomorrow? How will people react? What new challenges might appear? This habit of thinking ahead separates reactive individuals from strategic thinkers. Strategy often resembles a game of chess. Each move changes the position of every piece on the board. A move that seems harmless in the present may create danger several moves later. Likewise, a quiet move that appears insignificant may slowly build advantage. The best chess players rarely focus only on their next move. They imagine several moves ahead. They visualize how the entire board may evolve. Strategic thinkers approach life in a similar way. They do not simply respond to events. They anticipate them. They prepare for them. And when opportunities appear, they are ready to act.
Planning is not about controlling every detail of the future. The future always contains uncertainty. Unexpected events appear. Circumstances change. People behave unpredictably. But planning creates direction. It creates structure. It helps individuals move forward intentionally instead of drifting through circumstances. Those who plan ahead consider multiple possibilities. They imagine best-case scenarios, worst-case scenarios, and everything in between. By doing this, they reduce surprises. They become prepared for change rather than overwhelmed by it. Patience is one of the underestimated forms of strength. In a world that celebrates speed, waiting can feel uncomfortable. We are encouraged to act quickly, to respond immediately, to pursue instant results. But patience creates clarity. When you slow down, you begin seeing patterns others miss. You notice shifts in people's behavior. You recognize changes in the environment. You gather information before making important decisions. This patience prevents unnecessary mistakes, and over time, it builds a powerful advantage. Even the best ideas can fail if they appear at the wrong moment. Timing determines whether an idea is welcomed or rejected. Consider how often people resist change simply because the moment feels inconvenient. But when circumstances shift, the same idea may suddenly appear brilliant. Strategic thinkers pay attention to timing. They observe emotional climates. They watch how events unfold. They sense when people are ready to accept new possibilities. And when the moment arrives, they act with precision. This combination of patience and timing allows their actions to create greater impact. Opportunities rarely appear in predictable ways. Sometimes they arrive suddenly. Sometimes they develop slowly over time. But those who remain alert often recognize opportunities earlier than others because they are paying attention. They observe trends. They notice shifts in relationships. They listen carefully to conversations that reveal emerging possibilities. Opportunity often favors those who are prepared, those who have already developed skills, already built relationships, already studied their environment. Preparation transforms unexpected opportunities into achievable successes. In many situations, the most effective progress happens quietly. Instead of announcing every ambition publicly, strategic individuals sometimes build their position gradually. They strengthen their knowledge, they expand their network, they develop new abilities, and they do so without attracting unnecessary attention. This quiet progress protects them from competition and resistance. By the time others notice their advancement, their position is already strong. Success can create a dangerous illusion. When someone achieves influence or recognition, they may begin believing their position is secure. They may stop observing carefully. They may stop preparing for challenges. This overconfidence often leads to mistakes. History contains countless examples of leaders who lost everything because they assumed their success would continue indefinitely. Strategic thinkers remain humble even during success. They continue learning. They continue observing. They continue preparing for change because they understand that circumstances can shift quickly. No strategy works perfectly every time. Mistakes happen. Unexpected obstacles appear. Plans sometimes fail. But setbacks do not always represent defeat. In many cases, they become valuable teachers. Each challenge reveals new information, new insights about people, new lessons about timing and decision-making. Those who reflect on setbacks often emerge stronger and wiser. They adjust their approach, they refine their strategies, and over time, their ability to navigate complex situations improves. Strategic thinking encourages individuals to step back and view life from a broader perspective. Instead of focusing on individual conflicts or short-term frustrations, they examine larger patterns. They ask themselves deeper questions. Where is this situation heading? What is the long-term direction? Which choices today will create opportunities tomorrow? This broader perspective reduces impulsive decisions. It encourages patience, and it helps individuals align their actions with long-term goals. Foresight is the ability to imagine the future before it arrives. It does not require predicting exact events. Instead, it requires understanding patterns, trends, human behavior. Those who develop foresight often feel calmer during uncertainty because they have already considered multiple possibilities. And because of that preparation, they respond with confidence rather than panic. With strategy and foresight, the structure of influence becomes clearer. Emotional control builds inner stability. Persuasion builds connection. Strategy builds direction. But power also requires navigating competition and maintaining balance between ambition and wisdom. In the next part of this journey, we will explore rivalry and conflict, how powerful individuals handle competitors, how they choose their battles carefully, and how understanding human nature allows them to move through conflict without losing control. Because in the world of power, the greatest victories are often achieved without unnecessary confrontation.
Wherever human beings pursue success, competition eventually appears. In business, in politics, in creative industries, even within friendships and communities. People naturally compare themselves to others. They measure progress. They notice who receives recognition and who does not. This comparison can inspire growth, but it can also create rivalry. Understanding this reality is an important part of navigating influence, because ignoring competition does not make it disappear. It only leaves you unprepared. Strategic individuals recognize rivalry early. They observe it calmly, and they decide how to respond thoughtfully rather than emotionally. Not every competitor openly declares themselves. Sometimes rivalry remains hidden. A colleague may quietly challenge your ideas. Someone may attempt to gain favor with the same decision-makers. Others may subtly compete for recognition or opportunity. These dynamics are not always hostile. In many cases, they are simply part of human ambition. But recognizing them early allows you to navigate the situation wisely. Observation once again becomes essential. How do people react to your success? Do they celebrate it sincerely? Do they appear uncomfortable? Do they attempt to redirect attention toward themselves? Small signals often reveal the presence of competition. When rivalry becomes obvious, many people respond by confronting it directly. They argue, they challenge, they defend their position aggressively. Sometimes this approach escalates tension unnecessarily. Conflict attracts attention. It can damage reputations. It may distract everyone involved from their larger goals. Strategic individuals often avoid open conflict whenever possible. Instead, they strengthen their own position quietly. They improve their work. They build relationships. They allow results to speak for themselves. Over time, this quiet strength often proves more effective than direct confrontation. Indirect strategy involves solving problems without drawing unnecessary attention. Instead of attacking a rival directly, you focus on expanding your own influence. Instead of criticizing someone publicly, you demonstrate competence consistently. This approach reduces hostility while still protecting your position. It allows progress without creating enemies unnecessarily. Many successful leaders throughout history used indirect strategies to overcome competition. They focused on building alliances, developing skills, and positioning themselves where opportunities naturally flowed toward them. Competition can reveal valuable information. Rivals often highlight areas where improvement is needed.
They push individuals to sharpen their abilities. They challenge comfort zones. In this way, rivalry can become a source of growth rather than purely conflict. When someone competes with you, ask yourself an important question. What can I learn from this situation? Perhaps they communicate more effectively. Perhaps they network more actively. Perhaps they manage perception more skillfully. Recognizing these insights turns competition into an opportunity for development. Not every conflict deserves your energy. Some disagreements lead to nowhere. Some rivalries waste time. Strategic thinkers carefully evaluate which battles matter. They ask themselves several questions. Will this conflict move me closer to my goals? Will responding create more problems than it solves? Is silence or patience the wiser response? By choosing battles carefully, they conserve energy for the situations that truly require action. Competition often triggers strong emotions: pride, jealousy, frustration. These emotions are natural, but reacting to them impulsively can create unnecessary mistakes. Emotional discipline once again becomes essential. When faced with rivalry, strategic individuals step back. They examine the situation objectively. They ask themselves what outcome would truly serve their long-term interests, and then they act with clarity instead of frustration. Another effective way to navigate competition is through alliances. When individuals support one another, they create networks of strength. These alliances provide resources, information, opportunities. But healthy alliances require mutual benefit. They thrive when both sides feel respected and valued. Strategic thinkers therefore invest time building relationships based on trust. Because influence rarely grows in isolation, it grows within networks. Although avoiding conflict is often wise, there are moments when confrontation becomes inevitable. Someone may attempt to damage your reputation. Someone may challenge your position directly. In such situations, responding clearly and confidently becomes important. But even then, emotional control remains essential. A calm, measured response often proves more powerful than an aggressive reaction, because calmness signals confidence. It shows that you are not easily shaken by pressure. History offers many fascinating examples of rivalry. Political leaders competing for influence, generals competing for strategic advantage, artists competing for recognition. Some rivalries ended in destruction, others led to innovation and growth. What separated the successful individuals from the unsuccessful ones was often their response to competition. Those who allowed rivalry to consume them lost focus. Those who remained strategic continued moving forward. Sometimes conflict reveals opportunities that otherwise remain hidden. When people disagree, underlying problems become visible. When competitors challenge your ideas, weaknesses may be revealed. These moments allow improvement. They provide clarity. They encourage growth. In this way, conflict can become a catalyst for progress rather than purely an obstacle. Throughout competition, one principle continues to appear repeatedly. Calmness creates advantage. When others panic or react emotionally, calm individuals think clearly. They analyze the situation, they identify options, and they choose responses that strengthen their position. This calm advantage often determines who succeeds during moments of pressure. As we continue through the deeper lessons behind influence, we begin to approach the final stages of understanding power. Emotional control builds inner stability. Persuasion builds connection. Strategy builds direction. And navigating competition builds resilience. But one final element remains essential: self-mastery. Because the most powerful individuals are not only skilled in dealing with others, they also understand themselves deeply, their motivations, their fears, their strengths and weaknesses. And in the next part of this journey, we will explore that final foundation of lasting influence.
True influence begins not with others, it begins within. Before anyone can control outcomes in the world, they must first control themselves. Self-mastery is the foundation upon which lasting power is built. Without it, external achievements remain fragile, easily disrupted by impulses, fear, or poor judgment. Those who understand this principle treat themselves as the first territory to conquer. Their thoughts, emotions, and habits are all carefully observed and refined. This inner discipline becomes a source of stability in an unpredictable world. Every human being is driven by desires and fears. Some of these are obvious, some are hidden deep within the subconscious. Powerful individuals study themselves. They ask difficult questions. Why do I react this way? What fears influence my decisions? Which desires drive my choices? Awareness of motivation transforms decision-making. It reduces the risk of acting impulsively, and it allows goals to be pursued with clarity and purpose. Ego can be both an asset and a liability. Confidence, when rooted in ability and preparation, attracts respect. But unchecked ego often leads to mistakes. It magnifies arrogance. It blinds individuals to danger. It creates conflict where none is necessary. Strategic thinkers constantly monitor their ego. They recognize when pride is helpful and when it becomes a distraction. This subtle self-awareness prevents many of the pitfalls that derail ambitious individuals. Self-mastery is not an abstract concept. It is a daily practice. Small decisions compound into lasting habits. Waking early, maintaining focus, managing impulses, reflecting on progress. These seemingly minor actions accumulate over time. They shape character, they reinforce reputation, and they strengthen the ability to influence others. History's most powerful figures often relied on rigorous personal routines to maintain their clarity and effectiveness. In earlier parts, we explored the value of emotional control in interactions. Now, self-mastery takes that awareness inward. Observing your own emotional reactions is essential. Frustration, impatience, or jealousy often appear subtly. Unchecked, these feelings can influence decisions in ways you may not realize. By recognizing them early, you gain the ability to redirect energy towards strategic action rather than reactive emotion. This internal control amplifies effectiveness externally. Self-mastery requires patience. Ambitious individuals often desire rapid results, but real power develops over time. Strategic patience allows you to build influence incrementally, to wait for the right opportunities, to act with precision when conditions are favorable. This long-term perspective separates transient success from enduring power. Those who rush often burn out or make errors. Those who wait wisely multiply their impact exponentially. Reflection is one of the most underutilized strategies in human behavior. Daily or weekly reflection allows assessment of decisions made, opportunities seized, mistakes encountered, patterns of behavior. By taking the time to reflect, you transform experience into wisdom. Without reflection, lessons are easily forgotten and errors repeat. With reflection, experience becomes a powerful guide. True self-mastery is also about integrity. Consistency between values and actions creates credibility. When you act according to your principles, others trust your judgment. When actions contradict stated values, influence erodes. Strategic individuals recognize this alignment as a silent yet potent form of power. People naturally follow those whose actions match their words. Ambition is a powerful driver, but it must be managed. Unchecked ambition can create impatience, envy, and conflict.
Managed ambition, grounded in self-awareness and strategy, becomes a guiding force. It fuels persistence, it motivates preparation, it channels energy toward long-term goals. By mastering ambition internally, individuals prevent it from controlling them externally. Self-mastery also shapes presence. When someone is calm, intentional, and disciplined, it radiates outward. Others perceive competence, stability, and confidence. This presence amplifies influence. It allows ideas to be heard, suggestions to be followed, and alliances to form more easily. Mastery of self becomes a magnet for trust and respect. Life inevitably presents challenges, setbacks, and opposition. Without internal discipline, external pressures can overwhelm. With discipline, however, challenges become manageable. Decisions are not swayed by panic. Reputation is not easily tarnished by criticism. Opportunities are recognized rather than missed. Internal discipline acts as a shield, protecting both progress and perception. The final layer of power involves thinking beyond oneself. Those who master themselves consider the impact of their actions on the long term. They recognize that influence extends beyond a single situation, a single conversation, or a single moment. Legacy is created through consistent, disciplined, and strategic action. By mastering the internal world, individuals lay the foundation for lasting external influence. By now, the principles of power have been explored across multiple dimensions: emotional control, persuasion, strategic planning, navigating competition, and finally, self-mastery. These elements together form a comprehensive understanding of influence. Power is not about manipulation alone. It is about awareness, patience, and deliberate action. It is about aligning internal discipline with external strategy, and it is about understanding the subtle psychology that governs human behavior. Those who integrate these lessons gain not only the ability to navigate complex social landscapes, but also the capacity to shape their own destiny.
After exploring every dimension of influence, from reputation, emotional mastery, and persuasion, to strategy, competition, and self-mastery, we arrive at the core truth. Power is subtle. It is rarely brute force. It works quietly, strategically, and patiently. It is cultivated internally before it manifests externally. Those who understand this know that power is not a trophy to be claimed. It is a skill to be honed, a landscape to be navigated, and a legacy to be shaped. Everything we've explored is interconnected. Your internal world, emotions, self-discipline, patience, forms the foundation. Your external world, perception, influence, alliances, reflects your inner mastery. Without emotional control, strategic plans falter. Without persuasion skills, ideas go unheard. Without patience, timing is wasted. And without self-awareness, ambition becomes a trap rather than a tool. True power emerges when these elements are aligned. Power is never abstract. It moves through human interactions, relationships, and perception. It is shaped by how others see you. It is strengthened by how you respond to challenges, and it is amplified by how well you understand both yourself and the people around you. History's most influential figures succeeded not because they forced others, but because they mastered these subtle currents. They understood people, they understood timing, and they understood themselves. The path to lasting influence is long. Instant success is rare. Those who achieve enduring power move deliberately. They prepare, they observe, they refine their actions with care. Patience is not passive,
It is a strategic strength. It allows you to act when the moment is right, rather than reacting impulsively. The long game always outperforms the short-term win. One of the most profound lessons is that the most effective power often avoids unnecessary conflict. Influence is stronger when earned, not imposed. It thrives on respect rather than fear. It grows quietly, subtly, and often invisibly until it becomes undeniable. Those who chase attention too aggressively may gain temporary influence, but they rarely maintain it. Subtlety, tact, and discretion are the hallmarks of sustainable power. Ultimately, the deepest source of power lies within: your mind, your emotions, your discipline, the ability to act thoughtfully under pressure, the ability to read situations clearly, the ability to align ambition with patience and desire with strategy. Self-mastery amplifies every external advantage. It transforms potential into results. It transforms knowledge into influence. Power extends beyond individual achievement. It affects relationships, organizations, communities, and history itself. Every decision, every interaction, and every strategic choice creates ripples. Those who master the principles of power shape these ripples deliberately. They understand that influence is cumulative. It grows slowly but multiplies over time, and it persists long after immediate victories fade. Imagine your life as a vast stage. Every move you make, every word you speak, every reaction you display contributes to the story others perceive. Power is about orchestrating that story with intention. It is about knowing which battles to fight, when to act, and how to present yourself. It is about living strategically, emotionally, and thoughtfully. The lessons of the 48 laws of power are not just theoretical, they are actionable. Observe, listen, reflect, plan, act with patience, wisdom, and subtlety. Focus on your internal mastery as much as external influence. Align your actions with your long-term vision. Build relationships thoughtfully. Guard your reputation. And remember, real power is cultivated, not seized. Those who understand these principles are equipped not just to survive in complex social landscapes, but to thrive. As you step back from these lessons, remember, power is not about dominating others. It is about mastery. Mastery of yourself, mastery of strategy, and mastery of human nature. When these elements are in harmony, influence flows naturally. Opportunities appear. Trust is built. Decisions become precise. And your ability to shape your own destiny becomes limitless. This is the cinematic, immersive essence of power, the wisdom that transforms knowledge into lasting influence.